Hello, everybody. Mr. Alam, is that how you say your last name? You may come up here and have a seat. We will go on the record in the matter 24 TR 145. State of Wisconsin versus Samir Alam. The state appears through Assistant District Attorney Kevin Schmidt in person. Mr. Alam appears in person without counsel. We're set here today in this matter for a court trial. Mr. Alam was issued a speeding ticket in a 55-mile-an-hour zone, 16 to 19 miles per hour over. Mr. Schmidt, this is contested. Has an offer been presented?
Yes, we talked on March 7th, where Mr. Alam indicated to me the cause of the problem was his speedometer wasn't working, so I offered a speedometer violation and he rejected that.
Which is
Equipment violation.
is an equipment violation, and intent is not necessary, correct? He doesn't have to know that it was broken in order for him to be able to still get a speeding ticket.
As the court's aware, intent is also not an element of speeding.
That is correct. So, Mr. Alam, I will give you one last time, and one last time only before I take evidence and testimony. An offer has been presented for a speedometer in equipment violation, which I believe, what is the
It's
price on that?
$175.30 and 2 points.
$175.30 is the offer. So $175.30 for an equipment violation. Otherwise, we are proceeding and moving forward with the speeding 16 to 19 over, which if the court finds by clear, convincing, and satisfactory evidence, which is a lower burden here than beyond a reasonable doubt, you could face a $200 fine and $200.50 fine, 4 points off of your license. Do you need time to think about that, or are you rejecting that offer here today?
Your Honor, can I think about it?
You can have 20 minutes or 15 minutes.
Could I just talk about it with my mom real quick?
You sure may.
All right. Thank you.
All right. How long do you need? Because otherwise I'm going to move on to the other individual's court trial.
Just like 1 minute.
All right, you can go have a minute. We are briefly adjourned. Back on the record, same appearances as previously noted. Mr. Alam, an offer was presented. Are you accepting the offer, or do you wish to proceed with the trial here today?
I just have a question, if that's all right, Your Honor.
May.
So is there any way I can pay the 175 or the 220 and not get any points?
No.
No. Okay, I would like to reject the offer.
And proceed. Okay, all right. Please call your first witness.
My first witness is Samir Alam.
Mr. Alam, you are being called as an adverse witness. That means the state is calling you to provide evidence and testimony. Mr. Schmidt, are you okay if he has a seat where he is right now, or do you want him in the witness stand?
Can I ask that you go up because I'm deaf in my left ear?
Oh, that is correct. All right. So, Mr. Alam, please come forward. First, raise your right hand. You're going to be sworn in, then have a seat over here in the witness stand.
Do you swear that the testimony you're about to provide in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
All right. So please come over here, have a seat. All right, Mr. Schmidt, you may begin.
Could you state your name for the record?
Samir Zahara Amirali Alam.
Okay. And on February 10th at around 7:45, were you stopped by Trooper Olson
Are we talking AM or PM?
at PM?
That's when I got pulled over.
You were pulled over at that time?
Like at 7:45, I believe so, yeah.
Okay. By the fellow behind me?
Yep.
And you're on Highway 70?
Yep.
How fast were you going at that time?
So from my speedometer's view, I was going 5 over, but in reality, once some officer pulled me over, I was actually going around 13 or 14 over, and that kicked in. And after he told me that the actual speed and my speed on my speedometer was completely different, just because I didn't realize that until a day after we did that. Me and my mom, we performed a test on the highway. She had a speedometer on her phone, and I looked at my speedometer on my vehicle, and it was completely off by like 13 or 14 miles an hour.
Okay, so backing up, you said 5 over. What was the actual speed you were going with, the number?
The number on my speedometer,
Yes.
the number on my speedometer was 60 miles an hour.
Okay. So you didn't tell Trooper Olson you thought you were going 65 miles per hour.
I thought I was going like 60, but it was not 65. It was either 60 or not over 60.
Okay, and you're basing this on what your speedometer said.
Yes.
All right. So you believed you were going 60, and the reason you came to doubt your speedometer is you tested against your mom's phone.
Yes, and after the officer told me my actual speed.
Okay. Did you get it tested against any sort of other devices?
No. So what happened was that I sold that vehicle and told the buyer that this is what's wrong with the vehicle, and I no longer have that vehicle anymore.
Did you ever go to a mechanic?
I did not.
No mechanic has determined there's a problem with your speedometer.
I just from our tests, but we haven't took it to a mechanic or anything.
What kind of phone does your mom have?
iPhone.
And what was the app that was used?
Speedometer. It's one of these speedometer apps, and we also tried on Life 360 as well.
How do those programs work?
They track your speed on your, basically like how fast you're going on a vehicle, and they say how fast you're going.
Does it use like infrared like our radars do? Do they use GPS? Do you know?
I'm not sure.
You don't know,
It was either probably GPS.
but you're not sure.
I'm not sure, no.
And if it was GPS, do you know how a GPS could determine the speed of a vehicle?
Usually on my vehicles, I've had these digital speedometers, and it usually goes with the GPS, and it's always been accurate.
I mean, do you know like the mechanics of it, the science of it?
I do not.
Did you tell the officer the reason you were going fast was because you needed to use the bathroom?
Yes.
Did the officer also indicate to you you had another equipment violation, that your tires were protruding 2 inches out from the fender, and only did a warning with you on that?
Yes.
I don't recall if I asked, you were on Highway 70 when this happened?
Yes.
All right. No further questions.
Thank you.
All right. Mr. Alam, you can tell me some information now, or you can just wait, because you'll get an opportunity to tell me a whole lot of information after Mr. Schmidt is done with his witnesses. Is there anything briefly you would like to tell me with regards to the questions that Mr. Schmidt just asked you?
I would just like to know, like,
I can't give you information.
Oh,
You
okay.
can only tell me information.
no further information for now.
Okay, all right, you can go have a seat over there. All right, Mr. Schmidt, next witness.
I call Trooper Anthony Olson.
Trooper Olson, please come forward, raise your right hand, be sworn in, and come have a seat at the witness stand.
Do you swear that the testimony you're about to provide in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
You may begin.
Could you state your name?
Anthony Olson.
How are you employed?
I'm a state trooper for the Wisconsin State Patrol.
Were you so employed on February 10th?
Yes, I was.
How long have you been a state trooper?
For approximately 7.5 years.
Do you have law enforcement experience prior to that?
Yes, I did.
Could you describe that?
I worked for the Shell Lake Police Department and for the St. Croix Tribal Police Department.
Okay. Do you have any training as it regards to operating speed detection devices?
Yes, I do.
What kinds of devices?
Both radar and laser devices.
Hey, Mr. Alam, you can have a seat at the table.
Both radar and laser speed detection devices.
Have you been specifically trained? Let me back up. Were you in a squad vehicle on February 10th at 7:45 p.m.?
Yes, I was.
Did you have a radar in that vehicle?
Yes, I did.
The radar you had in that vehicle, are you trained in the use of that one?
Yes, I am.
Do you have any certifications in its use?
Yes, I do.
Did you do any testing of the device prior to your shift to determine if it was in working function?
Yes, I did.
What testing?
It does, or I have it do an internal test where I pressed the test button on the radar remote, and then it's a tuning fork test for both moving and stationary radar.
So that's an external test.
That's an external test, yes.
Did your radar pass both tests?
Yes, it did.
Are these the tests that the manufacturer requires to determine the functioning order of it?
Yes, they are.
They're tests you're trained and certified in doing.
Yes, they are.
You administered them properly
Yes, I did.
and it passed.
Yes, it did.
At the end of your shift, did you do any more tests on the radar device?
I tested it after the traffic stop. I don't recall if I did it at the end of my shift. I did it after the traffic stop though.
The traffic stop of Mr. Alam.
Yes,
How did it do on the test there?
it passed all the tests then as well.
Both internal and external.
Yes,
Okay. Backing up, then we kind of just did like the device stuff first. Did you stop Mr. Alam?
yes, I did.
Why did you stop him?
I stopped him for a speed violation. The radar indicated speed was 74 miles per hour in a 55-mile-per-hour zone.
And he stopped without any issue?
Yes, he did.
What did you say to him? Or what was the discussion with Mr. Alam when you stopped him?
I identified myself, advised the reason for the stop. I asked him if he knew how fast he was going, and he stated he thought he was going 65 miles per hour.
And did he give a reason why he was going so fast?
They were coming back from the artesian well and trying to get back to their cabin so he could go to the bathroom.
The portion of Highway 70 you stopped him on was in Burnett County?
Yes, it was.
The Samir Alam we're talking about that you stopped, you see him in court here today?
Yes, I do.
You say where he is and what he's wearing?
He's seated at the defense table wearing a black t-shirt and blue jean pants.
Let the record reflect that Trooper Olson has identified Mr. Alam.
The area where you clocked him with the radar, were there any road conditions or other conditions that could have caused distortion of the results?
No, there was not.
Could you explain why not?
It was a wide open area. There was no interference observed that anywhere in that stretch. I've conducted radar enforcement in that area many times.
Were you moving or stationary?
I was stationary on the side of Highway 70 near Town Hall Road.
So the radar you were using, was that the kind that needed to be tested against the input speed of the patrol car? Or is that just for moving radar?
That's just for moving radar.
So this was stationary.
This was stationary.
That was my confusion. And did you observe any other equipment violations with Mr. Alam?
The tires on the vehicle were protruding approximately 4 inches outside the fender line. The maximum that traffic rules allow is for the tires to extend 2 inches beyond the fender line.
But you didn't write him a ticket for that?
No, I gave him a written warning for the tires.
Okay, so you only gave him a ticket for the speeding.
That is correct.
And this highway is marked 55 miles per hour?
Yes, it is.
And the default on unmarked highways in Wisconsin is 55?
Yes, it is. On the two-lane highways.
Yeah, sorry. And you said, I forget, you say 73 or 74 is what it was clocked at?
74 miles an hour.
Okay. I have no other questions.
All right. Mr. Alam, do you have questions for the trooper?
No, Your Honor.
All right, you may step down. Thank you. Any other witnesses?
No.
All right. Mr. Alam, this is now your opportunity to present your case with testimony or witnesses or other evidence that you may have. Because you're not represented by an attorney, I'm going to allow you to provide it to the court in what's called a narrative, like if you're telling a story, okay? And then Mr. Schmidt will be able to ask you questions after that, all right? So do you wish to provide testimony or do you want to call witnesses? Do you want to present evidence? How do you want to go with this?
Could I call my mom as a witness? Or
Yes, you can. Is it Ms. Alam? Amir? Okay, if you want to come here, raise your right hand and you can be sworn in and you can come have a seat at the witness stand.
Do you swear that the testimony you are about to provide in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
All right. Once you are seated, please state your name and spell it for the record.
Zahara Zakina Amir, first name Zahara, middle name Sakina, last name Amir.
All right. Mr. Alam, you may ask your mom questions.
So the reason that, what was the reason that we were going 60 miles an hour, but in reality 74?
Because your speedometer was not telling you the right number that you were going.
And then what test did we perform to see that the speedometer is not correct?
I have in my phone the app called LifeSig 360. That's where I track you, like to see how speed you're going, and that's where we perform that test.
And what did the Life 360 say when we were on 35 going 70 miles an hour?
It showed that you were going almost like 85.
No, for like, yeah, so it shows that the speedometer on the truck is faulty.
Right.
And what was the reason we were speeding?
Well, first, you wanted to use a bathroom really badly, and that's the reason you thought, you were speeding, but in reality, you were speeding more than assumed when the officer stopped you. And I was shocked, like by five or six over, you've been pulled over. And that's when I kind of asked you, is the speedometer correct?
Her math is faulty as well.
No further questions.
Mr. Schmidt.
So the GPS test you did confirms that when he thought he was going 60, he told the officer he was going 73.
That's right.
No further questions.
All right, you may step down. Oh, do you have questions off of that question?
No.
You may step down. Thank you. Mr. Alam, any other witnesses, or do you want to provide testimony to the court?
Could I provide a testimony?
You sure can.
So basically, we were coming from the artesian well. We were getting water for our cabin, and I just was really like when we got to, I believe it's after Spooner. I just really had to go to the restroom, and there's like no bathroom there or anywhere close by except Hertel. And so I was just trying to go like 5 or 6 over to go to the bathroom in Hertel or either make it to the cabin. And as soon as I got pulled over, that is when the officer told me I was going about 74. And that just did not make sense to me because in my speedometer it said that I was going 60, and that's all that I recall. And once my mom said that doesn't sound right if you were going 60, we performed that test on the highway on 35 near like in Minnesota. And we saw that the speedometer is about 13 or 12 to 13. It was not correct. It was like 12 to 13 miles an hour off. And it just clicked in that the speedometer is now faulty, and I just had to get rid of that vehicle. So I sold it, and I let the buyer know that the vehicle has a faulty speedometer by about 12 to 13 miles an hour. And he said that he's gonna probably do something with it, and it is no longer in my possession. I do have a new vehicle with the perfectly working speedometer now.
All right, thank you. Mr. Schmidt, do you have questions for Mr. Alam?
No.
Okay, argument, are you done with your evidence?
Yes.
Argument?
Our initial offer we sent by the mail was speeding 1 to 10 over 175/30. That was rejected. We had the meeting. He mentioned the defaulted speedometer, so I gave him a better offer, pleading to the
You
defective
can't really,
speedometer.
you can't really argue what you offered.
I'm just
Negotiation
giving
and settlement.
context, because the defendant has admitted multiple times today he thought he was intentionally driving 5 miles per hour over the speed limit. When he was surprised that it was much more than he thought he was speeding from Trooper Olson, and they said that they use a different technology that independently confirmed Trooper Olson's radar. So in addition to that, I have covered all 5 of the Hansen factors. So as the court's aware, the device troopers use, the science is presumed accurate by statute by the legislature. The Hansen case said all I need to prove is the device was operated by someone certified in it and that it's reliable. I went through all 5 of the factors with the officer, that he had adequate training and experience, that was in proper working order, that was both internally and externally checked, that the conditions did not show distortion, covered all the Hansen factors. To the extent that the defendant would argue that there's a mens rea, there's not. State v. Brown, that's a,
Prayer, did you mean to go that fast? That's what mens rea means. Did you mean to go that fast?
State v. Brown, which is 107 Wis.2D 522, Court of Appeals 1980. That was the case that's determined that speeding is a strict liability offense. It doesn't matter if you intended to do it or not. And the only defenses you're allowed to make against those in Wisconsin are self-defense, coercion, necessity, and entrapment. And this is none of those. So for those reasons, I ask the court to find guilty.
All right, thank you. Mr. Alam, argument?
It's just that I bought that vehicle not too long ago from the speeding ticket, and prior to that, I was never informed that the speedometer was faulty or anything, and I purchased that vehicle without knowing that anything is wrong with it. And everywhere I went, I've never been pulled over. I've never been stopped for anything really. And after the officer pulled me over, that's when I was shocked because my speedometer is like completely off, and I was never aware that from the buyer who sold me that vehicle.
Thank you. This is a speeding traffic ticket. And prior to starting evidence and starting the trial, I informed you of the burden of proof. It's not the very high beyond a reasonable doubt burden. It's this lower kind of middle burden of clear, convincing, and satisfactory evidence. Is it clear and is it convincing? And am I satisfied that you were speeding? And speeding above 55, 16 to 19 over. I don't have to care. The law doesn't care about your reasons as to why. The law cares, were you speeding? And were you speeding at that mile per hour over the limit? Ignorance of your equipment and whether or not it's properly functioning is not a defense or an excuse. Quite honestly, the law puts it on you and places it on your shoulder to know that your equipment, your vehicle is running to legal standards. And you're admitting here today, it was not running at legal standards. There's a speedometer violation. It was broken. You didn't know it was broken, but you found out it was broken. And when you found out it was broken, it was because Trooper Olson pulled you over and clocked you at 16 to 19 over, clocked you at 74 in a 55. Your mom did these tests, and even if the court were to accept those as proper tests that were done, even if I give you the benefit of the doubt, she corroborated what Trooper Olson testified to. You were going between 16 and 19 over the speed limit. So the court does find that the state has met its burden. I will find that the ticket is valid, and I will find you guilty of speeding in a 55, 16 to 19 miles an hour over. I'm going to assess $200.50, 4 points off of your license. Are you able to pay that today?
Yes.
All right, pay it today. If you fail to pay it today, not only will the court enter a civil judgment against you because you're always going to owe it, that'll affect your driver's license and your ability to drive, but you could sit up to 6 months in jail. Are you still at?
Yes.
All right, telephone still ends in.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Please go make sure you make that payment here today. We are adjourned.